specialist. So I did lots of strength and conditioning for football athletes as I worked with the football team as well for that, and tons of different groups. I became kind of a combine specialist, as well as my registered nutrition for athlete specific. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today about nutrition for athletes. We're going to dive into that. This isn't very general population style, but this is nutrition for athletes. I'm going to get 25 minutes of that. If you have any questions, maybe pop them in after I'm done the nutrition stuff. Then we're going to get to speed training for football athletes for each position. We're going to go from warm up to positional work to agility to med ball work to cool down. So we're going to cover everything we possibly can in this talk. Please, we're going to go over lots of stuff. So you're going to learn some stuff today. That is my goal for you, to learn something. Okay, cool. Let's get right into that. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start for the nutrition for athletes topic here. I'm just going to minimize. Awesome. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with the determinant needs of energy for the athletes, right? They are a Ferrari, they're a Porsche. They deserve premium fuel. Premium fuel. No regular fuel will do with these guys, because we need to meet these energy needs for caloric intake for the day. This is going to help fuel their body to be the best athletes possible. And that's what we want for these guys, right? So everything that goes into our caloric needs is gender, height, weight, age, and activity level. But you're thinking, oh my goodness, is it all about the exercise? Absolutely not. So if you think that abs aren't made in the kitchen, they absolutely are. So we have this thing called our resting metabolic rate. And this is based on how much lean body tissue we have. So me just sitting here, me talking to you guys today, 60 to 75% I am burning just sitting here resting. So that goes into our resting metabolic rate. So everything that you put into your body that increases the lean body tissue, that is what we are burning first and foremost. Number two is our thermic effect of our food. So the food that we are putting into our body, that is going to fuel our body to start burning. So we have some nuts, we have meat, that is the thermic effect of our food. So just think of creating heat in our body to burn. That accounts for 10 to 15%. And then only 30% is physical activity. 30%. So when you look at it, we're like 75, 80. Oh my goodness. It really is about what we eat. So that's just what I want to hit home for you guys. All right. Tips for meeting caloric needs for the day. Eat frequently throughout the day. It's for athletes, we need to be grazing, right? No matter what that is, or whatever your dietary restrictions are, we need to be fueling the body kind of at all times, right? So carry snacks with you. And these are my biggest tips for these athletes. Choose energy dense foods. Add milk if you can, if you like milk, if you're into milk. If you want to increase body weight, that's up to you. If you're not into dairy, that's totally fine. Oh, I have to admit that person. Okay. So what your plate should look like, okay? So I like to divide the plate into 3 different sections. So veggies should be on that one side of the plate. Handful of carbohydrates, your personal fist. That is what your carbohydrates should look like. If you are an athlete, maybe just a touch bit more. But for just, if you want to do like kind of like a portion size, get that handful out there. That's what your carbs should look like. And then a handful of protein. This is what your fish should look like, with a handful of protein: fish, pork, beef, chicken, whatever it may be. Okay, macronutrients. So we have 3 essential macronutrients in our diets, and I'll go over all 3 of them. The first one is our carbohydrates. So carbohydrates account for 4 kcal of energy going into our body. And athletes, I just wanted to show you here, they need a little bit more. And this is based on our body weight times our body weight in kilograms. I want to stress that. Please consider it and calculating it through kilograms. So our body needs 6 to 8 kilograms of grams of food per kilogram of our body weight. So this is our primary source of food. So when you're saying, oh my goodness, like maybe I shouldn't be taking in carbs, we need carbs because they're actually stored for energy. And I'll explain why protein is not stored for energy. This is the biggest myth. I think the bro science of it all is like, okay, we need more protein, brah. And I hear it in the gym so many times. We need more protein. We need more protein. That is not always the case for athletes, right? We need carbohydrates for brain functioning. to help reduce cortisol in our body. We need it for recovery. We need it to reduce inflammation. This is everything we need to do because it is stored in the liver and our muscles for fast acting energy. Okay. So carbohydrates, how much, right? So the athlete should be eating around 45 to 65% of our calories from these carbs because we are always burning through our thermic energy through our resting metabolic rate and through our activity. It's carbs. That's the first source of fuel for athletes because that is the first source that is stored in the liver and in the muscles, right? So they provide an optimal fuel for working out during our physical demands, and you're putting your athletes through so much explosive movements. And to fuel those explosive movements, carbohydrates. All right. You're like, oh my goodness, okay, well, what kind of carbs should these athletes eat? So we have two different types of carbohydrates. They're simple, which are fast burning carbs, and then complex, which are just slow burning. So everything that's fast burning carbohydrate, we're going to use before our workout. We can even do it 30 minutes. Like if you're saying, okay, I only have 30 minutes before my workout, what should I eat? A fast burning carbohydrate. And I have monosaturates here. So glucose, fructose, galactose. So it's a monosaturate is carbs are made out of 3 saturates. And when they're broken down, you can get a monosaturate, which is just one carb. So even thinking about it in that way, just look at these. Okay, white potatoes, rice, fruit juice, sports drink, canned fruit, cereal, crackers, packaged snack foods, even candy. And I'm only telling you this because as an athlete and as these young men that we are coaching, and still even into the NFL level, they are burning. Okay. And candy is not going to be the be all end all of an enemy in this respect. They need to be good for their practice and just really look at it that way. Okay. And it's not the first fuel source to go to, but I'm just giving you an all out example of glucose in its lowest form. So if you look at a gummy bear, that is absolute glucose, that is absolute energy. Okay. So you can shove that into your cells, so your ATP, to help administer fast, quick burning energy. So burn slow. Use this to 1 to 2 hours post-workout. So sweet potatoes, rice, wild rice, basmati, quinoa, good source of protein, as well as fruits, beans, lentils, oats, white bread. Okay, functions of carb, right? I already told you it is there for energy, brain, red cell functions, primary. Actually, it's really good for the eyes, which is something we don't really talk about as well. Carbs provide energy during rest and during activity. Okay, cool. Where is it stored? I already told you guys. So 300 to 400 calories in the liver, 1200 to 1600 in the muscle. So nutrient timing, you're probably asking me this. So pre-workout, 1 to 2 hours. If you can, 30 is totally fine. Meal or shake should be higher in carbohydrates, lower in protein and fat. Now you're like, okay, why lower in protein and fat? Again, it's because we store that carbohydrate for energy. So if you are going to get in a high protein source, I would do it more so in the morning if you have a later workout. But if you have a morning workout, get that carbohydrates in first. During, you could actually I actually take a carb drink for me during my workouts, because I do explosive sprints for myself, or I do Olympic lifting. I take a carbohydrate drink or a glucose polymer drink during my workout. And I just sip on it. And what that looks like is you could do, Gatorade, something high in electrolytes. Sometimes I don't always love Gatorade because it's a lot of sugar in it. So try to really just look at the sugar factor. Okay, how am I getting good carbs in? After, glucose needed to replenish. Those gummy bears, I'm telling you. Protein. Now we're looking at that protein, right? So you're getting 4 kcal of energy through there as well. So the athletes need just a little less. So I do 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and that should be kind of around the jumping off point. But you can definitely calculate for your athletes their personal needs, right? Because everybody's different. So builds and repairs all the tissue of the body to improve fullness, right? And can help with fat loss. Improves that fullness. That's the hugest thing that I love to tell the athletes is like, why am I taking protein? You feel like you can go. So it's very fibrous, right? For protein, we can have lots of fiber to increase our body blood circulation. it's an insufficient source of energy. It's awesome for protein synthesis, but we don't store it, right, guys? So the basics of that, we are getting our essential amino acids. There are 9 essential, which can't be made by the body, but need to obtain for our diet. But 11 are non-essential, and they can be made up from the body. So we have these 3 awesome BCAAs, branched chain amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These are the best ones. These are the ones you're gonna want. And every time you're looking for a branched chain amino acid supplementation, if you are looking, I would look for these 3 bad boys because they're the most significant ones for our body tissue and muscle. Okay, quality protein sources: lean meats and poultry, fish, egg whites. You guys could do beans if you guys aren't into eating meat. Greek yogurt, oh my goodness, please, 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 that is huge. I'll even put that on tacos. Please don't. I like it. It's not that gross, I promise. Quinoa, beans, lentils, soy, whey protein, and plant protein. Not all proteins are created equal when you're looking at a protein supplementation, and we'll actually talk about that as well. This is just an example of some lean protein sources. So you're sitting there and being like, hey, can I actually just spread my protein out during the day? This is how the average person eats daily protein. Cool, not so cool. I'm here to tell you that we need to spread it out evenly, because do you remember me saying that we cannot store protein? So you actually have to spread it out 30 grams, 30 grams, 30 grams, or whatever, 30, I would say 20 to 30 throughout each meal, because you're just going to secrete it. Like there's no point in eating that big steak at the end of the day, or meat, or whatever you're going to eat. You just secrete it. We're not storing it. There's no point. You might enjoy it. There's no point. All right, here's some just examples that provide 20 to 30 grams of protein. You got that cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, beef, chicken, whole eggs. Please take a screenshot of that if you want. Cool. This is a really cool graph. So this shows protein synthesis over the amount of protein that we're taking in. And this is just reinforcing and me telling you, there is no more protein synthesis over 20 grams of protein. So you're thinking, I could get in more protein in this one meal. If I'm getting 30 grams of protein, there is no more benefit of protein synthesis over 20 grams. So that's why I say, like, stick around 20, like per meal, 20 or 25, depending on how big you are as a human being, because there's not much more benefit. And this chart here proves to you that. Okay, so we're going to maximize, and I'm all about like performance, high performance people, maximizing performance, maximizing what you need to do to be the best athlete possible. This is exactly what you need to do. Okay, the choice is yours. Choose and lose, the last part. So macronutrients, our third one and final one, which is probably the funnest one, is our fat, right? But you're going to get more calories on each gram of fat, right? More calories. So you get 9 kcals each gram. So this is going to make up 20 to 30% of our daily caloric intake, depending on what kind of athlete you are and how big you are, right? Because a running back is going to be totally different than a lineman. So easily, readily available fuel source. We do store this, okay? So it provides more energy per gram, but it's a slow burning fuel source, okay? So it's vital for hormone production, brain health, carries vitamins A, E, D, K, huge for central nervous system recovery. Please do not cut out fat. So really good fat that is found in eggs, and totally dependent if you guys want to do egg whites versus the whole egg. That's a discussion that people always ask me. It's totally up to you, no matter what you want to do. Not one's going to be more right than the other. It's just quality over quantity. But if you're getting quality fats in, like I use avocado oil, or I love like eating good avocados, or I have like bags of almonds, nuts that I take with me throughout the day. That's totally up to you. But it's good for recovery of concussions. There's been lots of studies that saying that just having good fats like omega-3s is really good for concussion recovery. Quality fat sources: salmon, avocado, coconut oils, avocados, nuts, nut butter, seeds, eggs, egg yolks, dark chocolate. Believe it or not, I wanted to put something fun in there for you guys to be like, all right, I'm on the right track. So we're going to get into dietary supplementation. So supplements do not need approval from FDA. They do not need approval from FDA. So this is a huge $9 billion industry per year. And I only wanted to say this because I get asked all the time, what supplements should my athletes be taking? And I do not, I actually have a list here of things that I do suggest, okay, over like the normal things. Should I take pre-workout? You know, you don't need that. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need. These are things that I think your athletes literally should be taking. Protein, because like I said, sometimes you can't even make that up in your diet. You're like, oh my gosh, like I had a few nuts. What do? You can have a little protein shake as well. Omega-3 fats. So the number one thing when you look at from you being born in your mother's tummy to when you're an adult, you need omega-3s in your diet throughout your whole journey of life. And that's something we're actually very deficit in, that I have seen in several studies for life. Like we are always very deficit in omega-3s. So that's the number one thing I would be adding to our diet. And you're asking probably like, why not omega-6 or 9? Number 3 is the one that we're missing the most, because we can get 6 and 9 from fishes and fish oils, but we're missing omega-3. We're missing omega-3. Please get some omega-3s. What do I need you guys to get? Omega-3s. Multivitamins, minerals. We want to be careful with multivitamins. Make sure they are chelated, which just means, are they absorbable in your body? So when you are looking at multivitamins, just like look on the packaging, is it chelated, right? Just means, is it absorbable in your body? So creatine, this is the number one thing that I suggest. I've been taking creatine since literally I came out of the womb. And here I am today being a badass to myself. Please take creatine. So we have creatine naturally. It's naturally in food, and it's naturally occurring, being like, okay, we get it in our food, so our body's ingesting it, totally fine to take. Okay, you're like, doesn't this harm our body? There are so many studies to back up why it is not harmful, so don't worry about that. If you want some more studies, I will send them your way. Creatine is my number one thing. And not only does it make us bigger, stronger, faster to increase lean body tissue, but it's really good for cognitive health. So there's more recent studies coming out that it's good for older adults and individuals to help with our cognitive system as we get older. So as my dad was getting older in his age, I started giving him creatine to help with his brain functioning. So carb protein drinks, I love. Please, I love this. I take a carb drink when I work out, and it just helps fuel my workout, increases lean body tissue, right? I'm going through it. Bars, if you want to have a little protein bar or a snack bar or carb bar, whatever you need to take, this is super huge. Okay, so breakdown of popular protein supplementations. Just know that not all protein is created equal. Not all protein is created equal, and that is huge to talk about. So when you're looking at whey protein, the powder, so 11 to 14.5% is only protein, and then the rest is lactose. Whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. And it's all about how they break down the protein and the amino acids. So whey protein isolate is not broken down that much. Because it can either be baked or sprayed, or the different ways they hydrolyze it. This is the best one you can do to increase muscle mass, right? So having an isolate or a casein protein before you go to bed for your athletes, that's what I suggest for those guys, because it's got the least amount of milk fat in it as well. So if you're concerned about that, definitely up to you and your diet. And I just wanted to hammer home, I know I'm looking over this one again, but I wanted to hammer home that this is why we're taking protein supplements, because sometimes, like, this is the optimal dietary pattern. We can't get that. I'm not asking you to do that every single day. I'm just asking you to get as close as you can to this. I'm just trying to show you we need to balance it out just a little bit more and hammer home that, we can't store protein, guys, because I want to get over the bro science talk of this. All right, for that creatine supplement, I did talk in its high praises, and 95% is stored in our skeletal muscles found naturally in foods. Creatine phosphagen system is important for quick energy, like that's what I said before. So improves strength, power, and speed. And I've been taking creatine since I've been in high school, and not only just for me in my body, like I'm 34 now, and I honestly am the leanest person at my age and my gender. So to say that creatine has worked on me is an understatement, to say the least. Um, and the athletes that I've worked with, this is something we put into their body, and they feel like they recover better, like they're able to do more reps. They feel stronger, faster. Just one of my favorite supplements, one of my favorite things. So these are some foods that you can use that have creatine in them. So you're like, I don't want to take a supplement, just increase some of these things. Salmon, oh my goodness, high traces of creatine in there. Veggies, put some veggies in that body. Omega-3 fats, like I just said, we're missing it in our diet, so it helps with recovery, decreases inflammation, really good for concussion therapy. Possible anabolic properties may help concussions. Aim for a minimum of 500 milligrams EPA and DHA, which are just, sorry, I didn't explain those. Those are just other fatty acids. So the omega-6 and 9. Yahoo. Okay. So how to tips for healthy eating, right? So it's just some generalized stuff. Meet caloric needs, totally cool if you can't, but I want to get as close as you can. So we want to make this consistent for our athletes going forward. So this is just some ways to do that. Make sure macronutrient intake is appropriate. Always have snacks on hand for these athletes. Stay hydrated as much as you can, because this is how they're going to be sustainable over time, is staying hydrated, making sure the body is fueled. Choose nutrient-dense food. Aim to eat 3 to 4 hours to keep up the high energy. And remember, I'm talking about these athletes definitely for Gen Pop. That's not you shouldn't be doing that for general population. But as athletes, we are fueling the body. We don't want to lose any muscle mass, right? We want to gain the muscle mass. Before workouts, choose easily digestible carbohydrates. So those fast burning carbs I did talk about, and I will send you this, the list for sure. It's okay to splurge, okay? So don't feel bad that we're splurging on food. We're going to just use it for energy later. And remember that nutrition affects performance. That was very dramatic. So fuel before a game, right? Eat a meal 3 to 4 hours before activity, right? As like when you wake up, please get some fuel in your body. They're like, I skipped breakfast and came to practice. That's not the case. We are not going to be doing fasted anything for performance. These are high performance athletes. We want to get them to have the best practice possible. And that's getting fuel into their bodies, carbohydrates to their brain, because remember, it's 3 parts water. Get those carbs to the brain, refuel, hydrate, 15 to 30 minutes pre-game. So here are some 5 smart snacks that I wanted to just put out there, just so you can just put this in your tool belt. Okay, trail mix, perfect one to hammer home. Protein smoothies, beef jerky, peanut butter jelly, right? This is actually the number one thing I suggest if you do want some fast acting glucose, is a PB&J sandwich. PB&J sandwich. And even when I was at, I will hammer this home, the NFL, part of the Seattle Seahawks, they had a fuel station pre-practice, and it had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on it. It had little honey bars where you can eat some honey. It had gummy bears. It had gel, like fuel gels that you can eat. It had everything that was high in glucose to help fuel the body. So even these high performance athletes, like the nutritionists know at that level what they need to be eating. And cherry drink or cherries, because it's actually high acting glucose that can be broken down in the body quickly. Okay, cool. As well as Greek yogurt's a great source of protein as well. So that is what I had to do for quick nutrition, and hopefully that puts some tools in your tool belt for some nutrition stuff. And going forward, you can answer some of the questions of these guys that ask you, what should I be doing for my nutrition needs? Or, hey, like, coach, what should I be eating? Carbs or protein post workout? Now you can be like, carbohydrates first. You can have some protein, but make sure you have a lot more carbohydrates post workout and pre workout. Okay. That is something I wanted you to take home with you. I'm going to get into speed training for football athletes, but do we have any quick questions?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, just drop it in the chat, and I will relay it to Amanda here. So if anything pops up, I'll just throw my camera on.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I wanted to get into the speed training for football athletes. Oh, we had one question. Oh, did you have your hand raised? Nope. Okay.
Don't worry about that. I'll handle that.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, we will pop into, I'm going to get rolling here because I know this one's a lengthy topic as well. Speed training for football athletes. Now, I wanted to give you guys the number one things you could do to increase the speed of your football athletes today, okay? These are the number one things that I've worked on with athletes and found success. These aren't things I'm saying go on the practice field and do with your athletes during a football practice. I'm saying lots of like off-season stuff to get your guys faster for in season, okay? You can use some in your practice, but these aren't going to be football specific drills. These are literally how to get them faster for speed, like get them faster overall for their position, speed wise, agility. I got some med ball stuff in here from warm-ups to cool down. Let's get going. Okay, goal for today. I'm going to tell you guys how to get your athletes faster and more explosive. I'm going to go through each drill at a technical standpoint. Number one, you see at the top, running velocity, which just means how they get faster. There's all these little determinants. We're on this whole umbrella here. It's everything from body mass to nutrition, which I've talked about from our speed drills, leg stiffness, stride, and frequency. This all goes into our speed training. So ideal skill development approach for sprinting for our football athletes. We're just going to talk about posture, mechanics, and rhythm at different aspects. And I'm going to show you guys that today. So we're going to start at the very basis of this all. And this is just a warm up, and tell me if this is getting too much. If you're like, I already know warm-ups, coach, totally fine. So I like to start from feet up, but it's always good to get another perspective. So feet up, and how we do that is just do some skipping movements. And I like to either do that through skipping, forward arms, circles. I like to do backwards because it stimulates those hamstrings a little bit more. And I like to do it for 10 to 15 yards. I gave you a 10-yard example here just to demonstrate. I am demoing everything today, so if it looks sloppy, you know who to talk to. So I like to do arms up just because we're opening up the shoulders side to side. So swinging, you can also do a karaoke to the side as well, just to open up our body and our adductors to the side. So I just do a little jog back break. But these are the number one things I would hit in a warm up, like the number one absolute thing. So if you can put some of these tools in your tool belt, please do that. So I do an easy acceleration because we're doing warm up. I go 80%. I do butt kickers. So butt kickers forward just to stimulate those hammies coming up in a little bicep curl. I like to do backwards because it hits those hammies just a little bit more. And I feel like the athletes really hammer home the bicep curl of the butt kickers if they're doing it backwards. Crossovers again, or whatever you guys like to call them, karaoke's. Really raising that knee up and bringing it over the side of our body. We've got one more going there. A couple more minutes of this warm up. So another easy acceleration. See, this is why like I need to start from the bottom of these accelerations to the top. Then we do 90% for our warm up. So we're going to do some leg swings here. I do 10 against the wall in one direction. And the reason I'm putting my hands against the wall is because athletes love to bring that torso back and forth. And they do this little shift thing that is so annoying because we want to be stable. We want to be stable when we do those arm swings. So that's why I put them up against the wall. So we do 10 in one direction, 10 in the other. Then I get them to put their hand against the wall again. So this works on body coordination. So do opposite arm, opposite hand, just so they have a landing point. What this does is I tell them to bicep curl that leg up, bicep curl that leg. I'm in the opposite way as well. Okay, cool. So that's me hammering it home there. I even like to get a little toe off. Like, so if you see, I raised my heel in that, just so I can get a little bit more foot proprioception, get the feet involved, get them excited. So high knee, 5 yards, and then I accelerate for the next 10 yards. So I call this kind of like a soft landing start position because I'm doing something for 5 yards and then I'm going into my sprint. So do whatever you want for 5 yards. That could be high knees, butt kickers, and then get yourself sprinting for 5 yards. You can even do a sideways shuffle, 10 to 15 yards, but whatever distance you want to do. So it kind of gets the body to challenge the coordination, the mind to get going, the central nervous system to start firing up. So build-ups, I say, okay, we're going to start for a slower sprint and build up to a faster sprint. So these are the number one things that I think you should be doing and putting into your warm-up to get faster overall. So sprinting mechanics for a football player specific. All these football players come at me and they're like, I want to run like Usain Bolt. Well, guess what? We are not running 100 meters. We are football players. We are going to be running 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards. We need to be staying within that within that parameters, right? At the most, some of our dudes are running 40 yards, and I am a combine prep person. So even when I'm doing combine prep for these guys and we're running a 40 yard, I actually break it down into just our acceleration phase and our maximal velocity phase. And I've heard this from multiple people within the field as well. So I check off that it is validated that we can break it down in just to 2 different sections for these guys, because, right, we're not going to be running like 100-meter sprint against other people. We're running against ourselves. So we're breaking down to acceleration and maximal velocity. So acceleration, what does that even look like? So I say for football athletes, it's the first 8 to 10 yards of our sprint. When I work with younger athletes, I almost say I challenge them to go 5 to 7 yards for this acceleration phase, because they are a little bit like their trunk or core, whatever you want to call it, isn't as developed. So they start to round and lean into that position, into a rounded posture. So until they can really get that trunk involved, those scapulas pulled back, and they can start leaning into this position in the forward posture, I say then challenge yourself to 8 to 10 yards. So increases velocity and stride length because we are leaning into the movement. We want to get this nice shape here, and I've created kind of a hashtag for you because that is the very trendy right now, is hashtags. So when I say hashtags, we have from tip to head is a nice vertical line, as well as we're going to get that knee up just thigh height. Anything over that, we're rotating the hips under, and it's too much for thigh height. We're going to get that toe up. We're going to get those arms kind of 90-90, or the best that you can do, because we are football athletes. So that's not the be all end all of what 90-90 looks like. Focus, increase range of motion, and apply force the entire time. The right rhythm is attached to a bigger range of motion. How far you can get those arms is how far you're going to get that stride length frequency. Okay. One thing that I like to teach the athletes is take their pockets out of their pants. If they do have some, just put them to the side. And if they can brush their hands by their pockets, that is showing you that they're actually getting full range of motion from their arms. And I always say, when we're doing our hands, is we are going to have chips, potato chips in our hands. So we're eating the chip, and then back behind our arms is the dip. So I say, give me the chip, get the dip, chips and dips, chips and dips, because this, as you're slowly holding that chip, you're not going to crush it, because when we start going like this and getting a fist, or we bring our hands out, we are actually applying more pressure on our shoulders, and it decreases our range of motion. And I know this because I used to do that as an athlete. Okay, so be the hashtag. I've seen this a lot of places, so I thought it was just a great way to hammer home, be that hashtag. So, right, just showing you one more time, right? We just need to be at that angle just to increase our stride length and frequency on our arm action. So do this, don't do that. I see this way too much with that rounded posture. They say run low, but we just want to say, okay, come out at that angle, get a great posture, and emphasize that force application. So when we're looking at football athletes, I like to start with softer starts, because this puts less stress on the body. And we're about really saving these guys, recovering their body, less stress on the body at all times. And this is something when I go into the first phase of our training, we start with softer starts. So this is anything for a smooth start from a higher set position. So movement added to the start. So less energy, less tension required. This is why it's less stress on the body. I would say this is the first like 10 to 40 yards. So falling starts, walking starts, those flying starts that you've seen. So here's some examples of some soft starts that I do with my athletes. So we do a staggered falling start. So I get them to do in a two-foot start. I ask them to fall, and then I cue them on the start. So tall and fall, I get the athlete to put their knee up so like they are in that full range of motion position. They fall, 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 and they start from there, putting that foot down as fast as they can, okay? Falling start with an even staggered start, or sorry, even start, not staggered. Falling start, this is good for even just, running backs, boom, just coming out because it forces not doing a false step. Backwards laying starts, I do this with my athletes because it increases agility, coordination, different ranges of motion. So many benefits, so many benefits. So many. So you can do laying starts backwards, sideways, anything that because they have to plant. You see how I have to plant here? Aha, to plant one foot and go in the opposite direction. It increases toe off as well. All right, staggered falling sled starts. So when we are doing a little bit of our resistance starts, I would say honestly only do 10% of your body weight. Please, please, please do not put on more than that because that is going to stimulate our motor neurons to be like, okay, we need to actually increase our brain to be able to push more weight. So we actually get faster overall, okay? But we don't want it to overload the system. So we're overloading the central nervous system to be like, I can't do this, I need to burn out. But we are going to give it just a little bit of push that it needs to override our system to get faster. Okay, so I even do a falling start from this one. So those are our soft starts, and hopefully that gives you a little bit more ideas where to start. Our hard starts, so these are more explosive. It puts more stress on the body, greater knee flexion at the start, greater foot, ankle, and Achilles calf stress. So we typically want to go 10 to 20 yards with this. Our block starts, push-up starts, 3-point starts, our med ball starts. This is what some of our hard starts would look like. So you could do a 4-point start or a 3-point start, whatever that may look like for your athletes if they are working on 3-point starts. So our staggered starts, it's depending on what position that they're in as well. But I just wanted to give you some more examples. This is one of my linemen here, kneeling start. This is really good because I wanted to work on get off for my athlete and see how I make his toe curl under. It's because I want the toe curl push off for him, as well as he's low and he's dropping that shin angle. Shin angle is super huge for these guys because we want to focus on them getting the lowest without leaning into that body and getting that rounded spine. We just want their shin angle to be at a great position that they're coming out of this position going forward instead of standing up. So let's play that one back. Boom, he's accelerating out of that. If we watch it back one more time, he's pushing off. He's getting that triple extension. Look how low he is. This is perfect. This is perfect. Great arm drive, great knee drive. Let's go. I'm just so proud of that. Okay. Push-up start. This is the number one thing that I would use for athletes that have they're having trouble with their trunk positioning. They're having that rounded spine. Dial it back to this. I promise you. Promise you. You can do that or a segmented push-up start. So you say toe up, and then they have to push off from that. Okay, those are my favorite ones. Sled pull start. This one's from just like a hard start position. We're not doing a fall into this one, but he or she is just literally pushing out of it. So boom, you have to push out of that start, and it's great for get off as well. If you have access to a band as well, you could be doing banded starts with these guys. I love doing the banded starts. You could just give them just a 10% resistance and have your athletes drive for those 10 yards, and then they will release. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. Med ball, throw to sprint. These are one of my favorite ones because you load the hips. Load the hips, and you push off. You have to push off as hard as you can to get that med ball. Aha. Are you a receiver? You want to plant, change in one direction, and go. So this just increases force absorption for the receiver or whatever position it may be to plant and go into the opposite direction. That's one of my favorite ones that I've used for my athletes. There's definitely some different ones out there if you want. So this is another one where I was saying to help our nervous system recruit more muscle fibers to increase our speed and overall output of our starts, right? because we want our brain to override how we are running and be like, oh my goodness, we need to get faster right now. So you could be doing some resistance starts. So my partner is doing a resistance start with me here, but I actually have this little harness that lets me go. If you have access to something like this. So I am sprinting. He's letting me sprint for 10 yards, and then he's boom, letting me go, and I am increasing my speed. So it literally overloaded my system, fired those muscle fibers, and increased my speed overall by doing this stuff. So this is my second favorite one. And you can do it with a band, or you can even put your hands on the athlete's hips. I know it's an awkward position, but load those hips, and the athlete actually has to push off from you. So my partner is putting some resistance on me. I'm getting into that low position. I'm dropping that shin as much as I can, and I have to push off from him. Boom, he is letting me go. And what that does, huge for your body to recruit those motor neurons. And another way that I like to do this, do you have a hex bar deadlift? So even if you are hex bar deadlifting, bringing it up for 3, 2, 1, then you are jumping to a box jump. That is also an exercise I love to do to help with get off and explosive movement, because we are building up that isometric contraction, which just means we're holding it. That's just a fancy word for holding it. And then we are exploding out from that position. I promise you won't go wrong if you do that. The second part of our sprint, maximal velocity. And this is the upright phase of our sprint, right? We did all this work. We put in all this work to drive in that little drive phase and that acceleration phase. Now we are into getting upright. This should be a smooth transition. And there should be a smooth transition from that, that 10 yards into this 20 yards where we are fully upright. And I have a little picture of my athlete here. I was timing some of his sprints, his 20 yards. He's trying to get as upright as he can. He's getting that good thigh height as well. We are not pawing and clawing. And this is the number one thing I've heard athletes ask is, am I pawing and clawing and bringing the track or the turf with me? Absolutely not. Please do not reach out. This is how we get lots of hamstring injuries, is by reaching out. We're not reaching. We're actually bringing that thigh up and bringing that foot right back down under us, because we need to, sprinting is done above the turf. We're putting energy into the turf to bring us above. And that's actually just going to help us glide forward as fast as we can. So shortest ground contact time for this one, highest hamstring involvement. So you're asking, my athlete has a hamstring injury. What do I make them do? Short speed sprints, okay? 10 to 15 yards max, because when you're doing 20 and over, it's the highest hamstring involvement. So if we want to get back to rehab, do short sprints. Okay, be that hashtag one more time. So you're asking, why should I even be doing maximal velocity? So some of the best football players, I'm going to touch on DK Metcalf right here. So we actually tracked miles per hour in practice as well as game time. And it's on the next gen stats here, how fast that these athletes do get. So whether you are DK Metcalf, you're running with the ball, getting up to these high speeds, or you are chasing down Buda Baker like I have in that picture, you are at one point getting up to that upright phase. Okay, you're getting to that upright phase, and why not train that? Because at some point in football, you'll be upright sprinting. Okay, getting to that maximal velocity phase. So as you can see here, some of these guys get up to the 23 miles per hour, which is crazy huge. Why not train that? All right, so from the NFL Combine, in recent studies, they did some data from a recent NFL Combine. They took every athlete from either running back position to a lineman position to a quarterback, and they found 90% to 96% of these athletes actually hit our upright phase around 20 meters. So what does this show us? It shows us that when we are training these athletes to hit just their maximal velocity, we need to go at least 20 meters. So we can train these guys at 20 to 30 meters, which are 20 to 30 yards around there. We don't need to be going 100 yards. We don't need to be going 200 yards. We can actually stay within this window and make these guys faster overall. So when you're asking me about speed sprint conditioning, I would actually give these guys some 30s or some 35s to work on, like, and nothing over that, because They want to be the fastest high performance athletes possible. And that's what I deal with, is high performance. So this is actually great data that shows us, you know, all these guys, different positions, 20 meters is where we are safe at to work on our speed overall. So agility training for field sports. These are some of my favorite ones that you can do, and I'll show you how they apply to your position. So backpedaling into a sprint, lateral progression. This is one of my favorite ones. So keeping the hips nice and low. They could be a little lower than I am there, but just some fun ones that you guys can do for agility type of stuff. So nothing crazy. I don't like speed ladders, and you might be mad at me, but I am not really a huge fan of it. If you want to do something like that, this is something that's just as good as that, because I am kind of looking at the ground here, but I would cue that athlete to look up. So rounded running sprint drills. This is the number one things I think athletes should be doing, is rounded sprinting drills as well. We did tons of linear stuff, but they're always going to be rounded. So single leg lateral hops, right? Really good to work on our deficits, bilateral deficits, which just means one leg stronger than the other. Okay. Those are some of my favorite agility drills you could be using literally today. Okay, med ball training for field sport athletes, rotational med ball throws. So we're loading the hips and rotating with our trunk. So I love this because we're putting force production on one leg, planting and changing direction. If you want to isolate that trunk, do it at a kneeling position. We're putting as much force as we can into the wall. Overhead, that's supposed to say overhead med ball tosses. We are snapping at the hips. So this is really good. I never do sit-ups with my guys. Never. We do med ball snapping, overhead med ball toss. This is as good as doing a snatch or clean and jerk with the athletes, because what's the biggest thing that you can do to reduce ground contact time? The number one thing is Olympic lifting. Okay. Number two is sprinting. Because when you're doing Olympic lifting and you're doing a snatch, it is 1.3 seconds from the ground to the top. And that's just, I'm talking as a woman, but even for a guy, it's even faster. So what's something that stimulates that without doing Olympic lifting? To triple extension, med ball work. You see, I'm getting triple extension at the knee, hip, and ankle, getting off the ball as high as I can. And what else does that work on? Vertical jump, staggered med ball chest press. This is really good if you're working on that staggered position. And this is probably the only sit-up type of thing I do is med ball toss. Okay, this one I like. So hop to med ball throw, hop, med ball throw, because it adds a little bit of coordination in there as well. Speed drills for football linemen. And you can tell me my lineman's stance is bad. I'm not a lineman, I'm a running back. So these are just some things that I put in my tool belt for speed training for these guys. So I add the rounded running. I have a little, I use my baby hurdles or cones or whatever you could be using. You could be using bags for these. I just didn't have them at the facility I was working at. Just honestly getting around those bags as fast as you can, just exploding out. Just a little footwork stuff, because again, I don't really utilize ladder drills. Fast feet, you can do over and back the line, keeping that low center of gravity, low center of mass. Crossover into rounded running. And I put the same ones here. I just wanted to hammer home that it's good for defensive linemen as well. Okay, just getting around these guys. I love this one because we are planting and changing direction. So you're doing fast feet, but you're planting and you actually have a purpose behind it. Over to little baby hurdles and sprinting for 5 yards. I keep these guys at like 5 yards when I'm working with them. 5, 10. That's one of my lineman guys. The max we went was like 10. And this is one of my guys again. We are doing that, dropping that shin, sprinting out. Boom, boom, boom. He was just honestly trying to increase his get off there. Okay. 3 broad jumps in a row. This is one of my favorite things to test the athlete's central nervous system fatigue. So with this guy, he plays on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. With him, we actually did 3 broad jumps in a row once a week just to see where he was at. And at like the beginning of our training, we put that marker in, okay, 3 broad jumps in a row. This is where your max, and we actually put it out. This is where your max is. And then we would do this at the beginning of our training just to see where he was at. And if it was below his normal number, we actually adjusted training. But if it was above it, then we kept training the same, like the volume. Cool. Speed drills for running backs and linebackers. So just some fun stuff. I get rid of the ladder. So of course I just do over and backs and advance.
Man, got a question here. How many days can you work speed per week?
Great question. Bum, 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 bum. Right here. Here we go. Here's a really good example training week of what that would look like. And this is based off if you were training your guys every day. So this is what it looked like. I would do the max 3 days high, like the max, but it has to be paired with a lower day. So I would go high days. So sprinting, agility, Olympic lifting, if you want to do the Olympic lifting, totally up to you. I know it's not as popular. Lower body strength. So I would pair that sprinting and agility stuff with an explosive movement. You can even do hex bar deadlift, explosive movement with a lower body strength stuff. And then I would pair it the next day with an aerobic day, which is you guys can do your tempo, speed, sprint conditioning, which is like you could do, I don't know, 5 times 30s or 5 times 40s, whatever you feel is best for your group. And you can do easy agility, extended med ball throws. So some of the med ball throws I showed you with an upper body strength day. So I paired them back to back. The most I would do, the most is 3 high days. So 3 sprinting days. Please don't go over that. They don't need that. I promise you that if you want the best out of these athletes, with 2 lower days, you could do 2. You could honestly do 2 days as well.
Coach, got another one here. Are there any other auto-regulating tests you incorporate along with the triple broad jumps?
Yes, awesome. So force absorption is super huge for me because it shows you how much force production the athletes are putting into the ground, and that means that the athlete's central nervous system fatigue is not doing so well. So I'll do vertical jump as well. So vertical jump and the 3 broad jumps as well. If you don't have the space for 3 broad jumps, you can do a single broad jump. Those are the 2 ones that I use because there's so many articles right now that speed sprint conditioning is more so tailored. It shows you how fast the athlete can be based on those broad jumps and those vertical jumps compared to literally anything else. So this shows you those are the 2 tests that help you determine it, help you determine their central nervous system fatigue. And those are the 2 ones I use the most, because when you ask the athletes, and trust me, I've been that athlete, you ask, how are you feeling today? I always said good. I always said good. But these are things you cannot lie about, is your central nervous system fatigue. And those are the 2 main tests that I use.
Awesome. And the only other thing that was here is, and we can get it to the end, but people are just wondering. People are wondering about this presentation, just being able to get the presentation.
Of course, yeah, of course. I would love that. Let me compile this. I'll put it in a PDF, or sorry, yeah. I'll give it to you, and then you can give these. Yeah,
absolutely. What I can do is, and I don't mean to cut you off, Coach, but if you're okay with it, if you send it to me, I can just put it on my drive and just have it in there.
Awesome. I was trying to mitigate. I was like, you know what? Everyone send me your email, but you know what?
Yeah, no, it'd be easier. I can do it that way. I can do it that way.
I'll give it to you. So I'm going to snap through these running back drills and linebacker drills because these are our speedy dudes or speedy ladies, whoever is playing. But I like to do these because when you're working on these guys, they're doing specific cuts, right? My 3 primary cuts for my running backs are going to be my speed cut, my pressure step, and my jump cuts, right? So these are going to help with those. I'm just trying to bring down our steps as much as I can. We're focusing on really planting. And this one, I like this one because it's force absorption into the ground, breaking down those deceleration muscles. We don't work on our deceleration muscles enough. And I promise you that a little crossover step, just to get used to these steps. And these are things like I am using outside of practice with these guys. Okay. So I like this one because if I'm jumping up, I'm working on coordination, deceleration, coordination, deceleration. Okay. One more for our linebacker guys. We're just advancing as fast as we can and dialing it back to the cone. So just a little bit advancement and then dropping back. So another one, dropping back sprint as fast as we can. I know I was out of space, but run faster than that. Okay, some for our receivers, DBs, and special teams. Honestly, again, I'm just hammering home some other drills you can use, and I will give you this presentation. And I just recycled this one because I want to hammer home. You can do this for receivers, DBs, and special teams. It's not isolated to one move, one guy, one position. This one I like, just flipping the hips. If I'm the coach, I'm actually pointing left and right, and I'm sure you've done this one before. But this is just some more tools you can put in your tool belt, like you can literally use tomorrow. Of course, just that planting and exploding with that movement. Our softer starts, I love to utilize these for receivers, especially DBs, in our off-season training. Keeps them low to the ground. So our bounding starts, I'm coming out of that 2-foot start, and I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating that stride length and frequency. Let's see that one more time. And I'm bounding out of that start, which is super important. Super boom, 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 boom. It's just to overrate the brain saying we need to increase the stride length and frequency. So for quarterbacks, of course, I want to do the drop back one again, and I get them to sprint right through, because I work with a lot of quarterbacks that are like, I just want to increase my speed overall. Well, drop back and sprint through. This is outside of their field work and field training, right? Just fast feet. Obviously, you can add in way more, but that's just some I really enjoy. Cool down, just super important. I just want to go through this really quickly. Right, we did all this stuff to the body, but how do we cool down? So I like to do just 5-10 yards of just toe off, really rolling that body up, because we did all this stuff to our feet and our body, and recovery starts from the feet up. I see the feet as like literally like abs on the feet. Like they are the big muscle that moves everything else, right? They are prime movers. They move everything else in our body. So if our feet are tight and the fascia on the bottom of our feet are tight, we won't be going anywhere. So I love to do these types of cool downs. So I'm just getting up on my toes, going backwards, forward, side to side. This is one of my athletes here. For one of our cool downs, I actually make him do pogos. Yeah, there we go. So pogos, you can either do this at the beginning of your workouts or a nice slower cool down. And I get them to take their shoes off, just because we really want our feet to be recovering. So I always say shoes off, because the stiffness of our cleats is a little too much for this drill. Backwards, boom, forwards. I get them to go bunny hop side to side. And the whole point of this, I'm just telling you guys, is longevity. We want these athletes to be bigger, stronger, faster for as long as they possibly can, right? And then single leg, you can go single leg forward. And I promise you, this will burn your calves. If you have issues with your calves, tight Achilles, tight feet, this is going to mitigate those issues. Okay. And that is my presentation. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that there was tons of information there and it didn't overwhelm you too much, but there's tons of information. So if you have any more questions, then I'll make sure you get this presentation.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, just drop it in the chat and we can go. But yeah, it was a lot of praise in the chat though, Coach. So people, saying how great this presentation was, and I would absolutely agree. Tons of really vital information. And I love how, I love the position specific stuff. I think that's always key. Like if you're going to run, you're going to learn to get faster, like do it in what you're going to actually use. So that was awesome. And yeah, if you make this into a PDF, I'll just put it onto the drive so that anybody can access it. Because yeah, I think honestly, I'm not just saying this. I think the coaches in the chat will agree. I think this is probably something that, just about every football program needs to utilize. I mean, there was such great information and detailed and broken down. So really dope, really dope. Excellent job. Told y'all she was great.
Well, my goal is to literally have information that is more digestible for coaches, because like as a coach, when I started out, people are just talking and I had no idea. I'm like, what the heck? What is inside zone? When I first started playing.
No, you got to break it down.
I had no idea as an athlete. So I took it upon myself to make sure I wanted to give lingo, but I apologize if some of it was too much, but I wanted to give something that you're like, I can take this away today. So
I think absolutely. I think all that stuff, and once again, you could see the chat, but it's all stuff that you can implement right now. And that's for all of us, you know what I mean? And what a perfect time to do it, right? In this, you know, approaching the spring, and it's perfect timing for this type of presentation. So definitely appreciate that, you know? So yeah, if anybody has any questions, drop that in there. But yeah, it was awesome. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. You know, so really good. Really good. Love the videos too.
Yes, I hope that you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Definitely you guys can add more things, but that's something you can take away today and add to your positional groups, whatever it may be, or whatever you need to use. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I want the 4K camera you have.
Yeah,
you guys want to know what camera I used?
There you go. There you go.
iPhone 11. I'm not even being sponsored right now, but I'm letting you know this is the camera I used.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So thank you for the comment. But you know, yeah, I tried to demo everything that I did. I usually try to ask athletes. Sometimes they're very shy to be on camera, so that's kind of the I don't have that access sometimes. But I have just made a football playbook, everybody. If you guys want to check it out, it is on Amazon. I will plug it. So I was like, I need to have some field diagrams for me. And here's what it looks like. I even actually have some red zone here. So please check it out. It is on Amazon if you want to get a football playbook. I have just created it, so I'm plugging it today.
There you go. Other than Twitter, obviously I tagged you in there, but is there anywhere else that, you know, they can follow you? I know you had that YouTube page going for a while and all that. So
yes, you guys can follow me on Instagram, please. Amanda, it's just at Amanda Ruller, and you can follow me on Twitter. Ask me any questions. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this. I will clinic anything. We could talk about something else another time, running back stuff. But I am so excited to talk. So if anyone wants me to clinic for anything else, please let me know. Anywhere, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be busy though. You're gonna be on the road a bit, so you know.
Yes.
Gotta get in while there's some time left. You know, but Coach, I really appreciate it. You know, like I said, it was kind of like a last minute deal. And you know, you were able to jump on, which was really cool. So I appreciate you doing that for me and for the rest of the coaches. You know, I think everybody got something out of this, and this will definitely be something that, you know, I push on Twitter, because I do feel like it was that insightful, especially for this time of year once again. And then, you know, that the whole presentation for any coach and program to be able to access it, I think is a really, really good luxury. So, you know, you just blessed a lot of people. So we appreciate that.
Was there any nutrition questions or
did anybody have any
help with, or maybe opinions?
Well, yeah, if anybody has any, definitely drop them in there. You know, and of course y'all can always reach out. But yeah, you know, once again, I think you brought up a really good point, and I'm very much the same way. Like I do feel like you gotta break stuff down, like give it to people in certain, you know, bite-sized pieces, so to speak. And I just think like that's how I kind of switched up, even, you know, with my position group, let's say. You know, it's very progression based stuff, so that they can learn each step at a time, as opposed to throwing it. And I just felt like, at least for my guys, like it's in the kids I train, it's just translated better. You know what I mean? They're able to kind of, you know, process all the information and then put it together themselves, but while doing it in different parts. So it's been great. So I love that. I love that aspect.
I had some guys training for the CFL Combine coming up, and one of the biggest things is I took every point of their data. So I took everything from a 40 to broad jump to vertical jump, and I actually compared that data to other CFL and NFL athletes, and I saw where their deficit was. So I used my CS background to give them an athletic score. So when I said, okay, your deficit is your vertical jump, how do we do a vertical jump? We don't just work on our vertical jump. We talked about deceleration. Yeah. So we took a med ball, decelerate. We worked on getting fast. So we worked on each aspect of the vertical jump to get them better at the vertical jump. I would never just do, hey, we need to work on our 40, let's run 40s.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Never. So we break down each aspect.
For sure. Do you see that question there from Justin?
Have you ever thought about doing a coach's performance workout or anything? Like 4 coaches?
That's not a bad idea.
Yes, I would let's do it.
That ain't a bad idea.
Yes.
Hey, we gotta 100%. We gotta stay in shape too.
Yes.
definitely got to be staying in shape. It was awesome. Just kind of thinking about, because like for instance, where we're at, there's certain restrictions on like what you can really say to the kids as far as like supplements. Like it's really kind of like we're really not supposed to, but at least if you offer up just the overall nutrition aspect, at least they're getting something. You know what I mean? We were doing the peanut butter sandwiches too, and it was like, once COVID hit, that kind of, it was always like peanut butter sandwich with like like chocolate milk or regular milk, and it was just like once COVID hit, like we couldn't do that anymore. So it's obviously we're out of that. So I know we've talked about doing it again, but I mean it's great because how many kids, especially in the high school level, how many kids are doing these workouts, going to practice, and then going home and some of them aren't eating. Like there's a lot of them that do that. But then they're not now they're not getting the most out of that workout. So any way that we can help that, talk to a coach at the ASCA, right? And once again, they can't give the kids supplements, but what they did was he actually bought like a vending machine and stocked it with protein shakes and then put it in there because he's not giving it to them. They have to buy it, but it's there. And he's obviously they've taken advantage of that. So fun in different ways to go around certain things is good, but having that general knowledge of what's important to eat when, I think, is so key.
That's the hard part, is because you don't want to give them supplement advice. And like that, I struggle because I'm registered dietitian, but then I'm a coach. So what scope of practice am I in? When they ask me, coach, what supplement should I take? I'm like, what are you taking now? And just like me just kind of dancing around. Okay, well, our body needs more.
Right.
So like, so you just kind of give them a little education instead of you should take this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you guys what I thought.
Yeah. You see that question that came in about GPS?
Yes. What do you suggest for GPS tracker for high school programs? Well, GPS, like to put in their, so in the NFL, they had like the catapult ones. I think that was the best one. I use like, if I sometimes get my guys to do like Apple Watch, but I don't have like a certain GPS tracker that I use. I think maybe like the catapult one's probably the best one because the two programs, the CFL and the NFL, use those ones specifically. And that was because the program bought it. And I found that those were the best ones to use for GPS tracker. So it showed you like volume that they were running. And that actually was good on my Accord because I can see where the running backs were putting in the volume. So because some of them are like, I'm really tired. And I'm like, well, you're actually putting in way more volume than a receiver. Like what's going on here? And I got to see where they were and we actually dialed it down. So those are probably my favorite ones.
With your high school athletes, how, because I was talking about this with a coach the other day, like, when I was playing, I think it was, I don't know, I never really recall a whole lot, especially in high school, like a whole lot of recovery talk. You know what I mean? Like what to do to recover, right? So like, how often do you see, or how often are you telling, coaching these guys up on proper recovery, proper rest, and all that stuff? And what are some things that you're initially suggesting that they do just on their own?
The number one thing, I talk it up all the time because that's the number one thing that they're lacking. I think it was hardwired in our system long ago. And I was hardwired in my system is just to push through everything. Push through. You're tired? Like, yes, okay, if you're tired, come do the workout, right? But honestly, if it's causing injury, like the number one reason why people get injured is from overtraining and undertraining. And I'm pretty sure these guys aren't undertraining, from overtraining, right? And that's an actual thing. Is I've even seen coaches back in the day saying overtraining is not a thing. And I think that's complete craziness. Monitoring the body, so actually before my running backs come into practice, I get them all to rate their body and their mood out of 10. And if someone gives me like a 2, I'm just like, what's going on, buddy? Like I actually pull them aside and ask like, what's going on? How's your sleep? So then I start diving into how's the sleep, how's the food, how's the recovery. I make sure I ask every single one of them before they go out in the field. And that's huge to them. It's just, they just want to be validated in their feelings. And I know that's craziness now. I'm almost touching into now a therapist, but That's something we need to check in with these guys. And the number one other thing is just like hydration. So I just get them to, so one thing that we track, and like I love data points, I actually get my athletes to weigh in. Like I just have like a little scale before they walk out the field, weigh in before and after practice, just to see how much water you're losing.
Yeah.
Just to see that. And it keeps them accountable, because they're like, how much weight did I lose, coach? I'm like, 4 pounds. Like you need more water. And they're like, oh, okay. So they go chug right away. That's something so simple I can do in a notebook. I have like 6 athletes. It's not a big deal. At the NFL, the whole team had to weigh in before and after practice. And I was actually doing this with my guys before I got and saw that it was done at the higher levels. I saw it was done at the higher levels. I started doing it before that, which is awesome to see that they keep them accountable at that level as well.
Right. No, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I think it's such the pivotal piece that just doesn't, they're not doing it, and you really have to make sure that you're schooling them up on it, because a lot of them don't know what to do. Once again, I mean, it's just go sometimes. I mean, but that recovery and that rest is crucial to what your development looks like. So really good stuff. But yeah, so obviously, guys, I mean, if you have any questions or follow up with Coach Ruller, just hit her up on social media. Like I said, she's awesome. She's willing to help whoever, and clearly she's passionate, has got a ton of knowledge for what she does. So I would certainly utilize her as a connection. It's great. I mean, I'm sure if she wants to, she'll probably be in the NFL someday, getting them to right again. So are you you're putting in for the internship again? Can you do that? Can you put in? Yeah, you can, right?
I've known an individual that did the Bill Walsh six times. Yeah, so no, like that's what I mean. I'm definitely talking, or put in my application and talk to some guys. Absolutely. I'm going to NFL Combine coming up here. So if anyone's going, please connect with me. But I will be going to talk to some people. So yeah.
I'm expecting you to start training some of these dudes getting ready for the Combine. That's next.
Let's go. Of course.
Yeah, Coach, appreciate it. Rest of y'all, thank you for showing up and jumping in. We'll wrap this one up here.